That is why I get onto the floor. That is why I teach martial arts. That is why I wake up. That is why I do the things that I do for my kids, is I want to be a better father, husband, and leader, so that way I can make a bigger impact on the community I serve. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Off the Mat. I am, of course, Josh Dumoulin, and this is
Nicole Stratichuk.
And we just thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode. If this is the first one you're going to be listening to, welcome to this show. Here with Off the Mat, our goal with this podcast and video podcast is to be able to hopefully help out any martial artists, any parents who have a child who's in martial arts, or maybe just in sport in general, or maybe just yourself as a coach or instructor, maybe being able to offer you guys some insight or guidance into a lot of the things that we have learned over the last 15 years of teaching and training athletes and training competitors and students and running our school here, and hopefully be able to just help you guys out with whether you're looking for motivation or, you know, pursuing your goals or whatever it is that you're looking for. That's our goal of this show here. So, what are we talking about today?
Well, last week we started off episode number 1. I was really nervous, but we're here back for episode number 2. But anyway, last week we talked about why we were doing the podcast. We, like Miss, you just said, all those reasons, but we really dived into that a little bit deeper. And so I think the next step is, let's talk more about the why, because this applies not only to us starting a podcast, but also applies to athletes, right? Students, martial artists, or their parents, or coaches and instructors, just like you said. So creating the why statement is just going to be a helpful tool or reminder about why we do martial arts, whether that's for you or your child.
That's right. So, you know, having a why is super important. You know, the thing that a lot of people, I should say, mess up, but kind of lose track or lose sight of those goals that they originally set is everybody knows what it is they're doing. Everybody knows how they're going to be doing it. But if you don't have a strong enough why connected to the what and the how, then it is very easy to lose motivation, fall off the tracks, and just completely just quit altogether. And so actually having a strong why is going to be what actually pulls you through some of those tough times. And trust me, there's going to be tough times. Whether it is training in martial arts or in life in general, there are going to be hard times. And if you don't have a strong enough why behind what it is you're doing, man, you're on a one-way track to just falling right off.
Yeah, and if we think about the why is going to help us stay committed, and it's going to help us be consistent, and that in the end brings us really a lot of clarity, right? And so that will keep us on the mat and keep us training and working towards our goals and striving towards that. You know, if we look at like successful people out there, right, the most successful people aren't necessarily the richest people, right? It's all about their definition of success and happiness, and your why can really get you closer to that. So you're just going to be increasing your connection to your purpose in life, or your passion, or any of those goal-setting things that you want to achieve in your life. Having a strong why statement helps you stay committed to that.
That's right. So with this episode here, our goal is by the end of this show, you are going to be able to write your own why statement. So that's what we want for you, because again, I don't care if you are a parent, if you are an athlete, it doesn't matter who or what it is you do, you need to have some sort of why behind it. So that is our goal, is we have a really, really easy way to just create a why statement. So if anybody or yourself ever asks, why am I doing this thing? You are going to be able to answer in 1 to 2 sentences really quickly why it is you continue to do and why you push through those challenging times. So let's get into this. So if we are talking about, now where this really came about too was I gave a talk to some people that some men that I talk to every Saturday, because in February I'm participating in this thing called the MDK Project. It is a 3-day experience, 75 hours for men, where it is run by a guy named Bedros Keuilian, who is a entrepreneur, motivation speaker. He is the founder of Fit Body Boot Camp. It is run by a Navy SEAL and a Marine, and it is 3 days of absolute torture and hell. And a lot of us got talking about what it is that we're doing, and rarely did we actually get deep down on why we're doing it. Why are we going to do it? Why will we go there and actually make it through? Because in this 3-day experience, of the 20 to 30 men that sign up for this thing, half of them ring the bell and quit halfway through, and they just stop. And whenever we listen to, Bedros or Coach Steve or Coach Ray, they say that those guys didn't have a strong enough why behind it. Physically, they were fit. Physically, they were strong, but they weren't mentally strong enough. They didn't have something. So when I was talking to the group of guys that I'm participating in this project with in February, we came up with this whole why statement, and this is what we talked about. So I'm going to share with you guys my why statement, so that way, whether it is waking up in the morning, whether it is teaching on the floor, whether it is this 3-day experience called the project, this is my why on why I'm going to do things, why I do the hard stuff, and why I actually continue to do it. So let's just speak from a parent's perspective. So or a person who starts in martial arts. So when you decide you're going to start in something, well, you got to kind of figure out what it is. You want to do martial arts. Okay. Well, what type of martial arts? So you kind of start narrowing those things down. And what do? You probably go onto Google, you go onto your phone, you go onto Facebook. You're like, well, I've heard some good stuff about Taekwondo, and well, I'm going to do this. Okay. Well, next step is how? How do you get involved in martial arts? Well, I found what it is I'm going to do. I found a school that I'm going to call, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's the how. You get down to how you're going to get there. So you go and Google them, you look them up, you phone them, you email them, you Facebook message, whatever. And that's how you figured it out. And then you just needed to go, well, okay, we need to sign up and start. And you just go. And at the first, when you start something new, it's super exciting. You can't help but be motivated just going into new places and new things. So you just go. But then a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and everybody's sort of motivation is a little bit different. It could be a month or two. What happens? People start going, oh, it's getting tough to go. Right?
That's right. Yeah, we see lots of kids come into our studio, and adults too, that come in and they're super pumped. Like when you experience something brand new that's super fun, it's exciting to be on the mat, you're meeting new friends, you're making new connections, right? It is really fun and exciting. So that motivation right there is super high in the beginning. And this honeymoon phase, it might last for different amounts of time for different people. So maybe this really exciting, high motivated time lasts for a month. Maybe it lasts for a year for some people, right? But at some point, we're all gonna experience this decrease in motivation. There's this point in time where, it's not so exciting to go to the gym every morning. It's not so exciting to eat a salad every day. It's not so exciting to go to martial arts every day or make my training sessions every week. So there is this at some point in time, there is this decrease in motivation that everybody is going to experience. And if you think about it yourself, not just taking martial arts out of it, but think about your work, think about your career, think about your family, think about your own fitness journey, think about setting some sort of goal. Whatever goal it was, as long as it wasn't, a really short goal, but if it was a big goal that you had to be committed to and be consistent with, you probably experienced this point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I give up, right? You're probably thinking that, and you have that kind of struggle in your head between perseverance and sticking it out and quitting, right? And so I think that's the point that we get at, and this is where the why statement is really going to help us push through that and persevere through maybe these unmotivated times.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So a really easy one that I've just found simple to make, a why statement that's super easy to make, and just it takes you, a 5 to 10 minutes of just kind of really sitting down and just thinking about what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it, and just being able to kind of narrow it down. And it comes down to 2 sentences. The first one is going to start with to, fill in the blank. And the second sentence is so that blank. And really just getting down to those 2 things. If somebody were to ask you, why are you, Josh Dumoulin, doing this 3-day experience for men called The Project, where a Navy SEAL and a Marine are just going to yell and scream at you, make you crawl through mud, make you go through torture? Why do you do it? And my why is really simple. To be a better father, husband, and leader, so that I can make a bigger impact on the community I serve. That is why I do this. That is why, and I realized that it wasn't so much just for the project, but that is why I get onto the floor. That is why I teach martial arts. That is why I wake up. That is why I do the things that I do for my kids, is I want to be a better father, husband, and leader, so that way I can make a bigger impact on the community I serve. So that is my why. So trust me, there are days I don't want to go in and teach. There are days I don't want to wake up. There are days that I just don't want to work on whatever it is I'm supposed to be working. There's days I don't want to actually start this podcast because it took us so long to do. And then I have to go back to that why statement. So when I struggle, when I don't want to continue, when I don't want to finish things, when I'm going to be going through this 3-day thing, I'm going to want to stop. And I have to go back to that. And the reason why I like this why statement, to, so that, is it's quick and it's short, and I can quickly say it. I don't have to, go to a paragraph or a whole journal that I've written about. It is simple. It's to the point. It's straightforward. If somebody were to ask me, why do you teach? To be a better father, husband, leader, so that way I can make a bigger impact on the community I serve. Why do you do this 3-day thing? To be a better father, husband, leader, so that I can make a bigger impact on the community I serve. So it's easy, it's quick, and that's why I really like this why statement. Going to conferences, we've gotten to participate in lots of different, find your whys and do this and write these, and we've come across some really good ones. I just find this one quick, it's easy. So that's basically how you write the why statement. Now, to get to this, you've really got to do some, like I said, some 5-10 minutes of just really thinking about what it is that you do in general. So when you're creating yours, what values do you have?
Yeah, I think that's really the first step is taking a minute to go through and write down the values that you connect with, or the ones that you want to embody, right? So taking some time writing those values down, and if you're unsure of what kind of values, just go Google search it, right? Like, you're gonna get a whole list of different values, and just start circling the ones that stand out to you. So those values are really gonna help you formulate or get you start to thinking about why you're going to do something, right? Because you want to embody those values in what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And we all have different values. Like, when you hear me, give my why statement, you might not be a father yet. So maybe that doesn't fit for you. You might not be, as much as people don't think they are not a leader just because they don't, own a company or they don't teach classes. In some way, shape, or form, you have led tasks, you have led projects, you have led stuff. So, your why and values and stuff like that need to match what you do. But the simple to, so that, can really be narrowed down for anybody. And we've written a couple down for you guys that we're going to help out from different points of views. So I gave you my why statement, why I do the things that I do, why I push, why when I'm doing workouts, why they're super, why if they're really hard, I just keep going. We wanted to also give you guys some ideas, so that way, again, we've given you the why statement and how to write it, but we wanted to give you guys some ideas on being able to actually know where it is you need to go from. So
And I found that like when you're writing your why statement, write a bunch of them out. Like I feel like you got to start and then just mold it and create it and format it so that it really does fit what you're trying to achieve.
Well, and never feel like you can't just change it.
Right. That's the other thing is also your why can change at any given time, right? Like if you think about 20 years ago, would your why have been this?
Absolutely not.
No, because you weren't a father, you weren't a husband, you weren't teaching martial arts yet. So your why would have been different, right? So your why, review that why statement all the time to make sure that it's matching the season of your life, right? We're in this season right now where we have 2 young kids. We are running a martial arts school. Our life is really busy right now. And so your why statement, right? Being a better father, husband, leader, that really fits in with where you're at right now. So don't feel like your why has to stay stagnant your entire life. But some of your values, you're going to notice that stay the same, right? And then your why statement will just change as the seasons of your life change. When we talk about like Champion Taekwondo's why, right? We started thinking about, okay, why do we do what we do? And we actually talk about this quite a bit. But why, the why statement for Champion would go something like to provide a community and opportunity for kids and adults where they can learn physical and mental strength through martial arts and life skills so that they can become confident martial artists and better people overall, right? We're teaching them how to strive for greatness. That is our why. That is why we do what we do, because we want to make a strong community, right?
No, that's and that's the thing. Like, you know, we picked values that match us, and then we kind of just started writing from there. And so when we write that, and we say that, and we tell people that, it's easy. It's, you know, we know what it is, and those values, because we already have a lot of those values behind it, it's really easy to kind of stay the course on them a little bit. But the big thing is, you know, when you are writing it, I just know for me, I'm just going to speak firsthand experience. I used to start on these kind of things and I would almost get like analysis paralysis. I would almost kind of just like, I would be too worried that I would have to commit to this 1-2 sentences that I was going to write. And that was going to be my identity for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever I'm going to live. And I would sometimes not even finish having, you know, writing something like this out, because I would feel too, like if I made a mistake in some statement that is, you know, about me. And so, like we were saying, don't worry about it changing. Don't worry about it moving. Don't worry about it fluctuating from where you are at in your life, and review it. I like even that, I wrote my why statement, I wrote a couple months back, and I've tweaked it here and there. It used to be so that I can make a bigger impact on the people I serve. And I felt when I wrote that, I felt it was too direct people to people. Like I just felt like it was just the people I meet and grow attached to here. But when I thought about, you know, well, I want to make a bigger impact as a whole, I changed it to community. Because when I think of community, it could be the community of people listening to a podcast. It could be the community of people who follow you on social media. It could be a community of people in Lethbridge. It could be a community of people at Champion Taekwondo. It could be a community. I felt community a little bit more broad. So I tweaked mine a little bit just to kind of match where I want to see myself going, not just where I am right now.
Right, that's a perfect example of, you know, choosing something. Try it out, right? Choose your why statement, try it out, be committed to it and committed consistently to it so that you can figure out if that's the right one for you. And if it's not, you've got clarity, right? The more you can be consistent and committed to it, then you'll be able to see that clarity and then make the tweaks that are necessary so that it is really deep down in your heart and in your soul so that you can really stay committed to it, right?
Well, let's get into why, like some why statements to help out some parents, right? Because this is, I know as a father and as a mom, sometimes I mean, our boys, well, okay, the one doesn't do Taekwondo yet, but the one does, and he loves going. But are there days he just doesn't want to go? Absolutely. And if we let him go off on a day or two and three, it quickly becomes a slope that is tough to get out of. He's young. He needs guidance. He needs a father. He needs a mother to steer him along the right way. And we also, kind of have a little bit of a why behind why we push him through it. So as a parent, this gets difficult because you guys are, you bring your kid in and you know the value of martial art, you know the value of what they're doing, you know the value of what they're learning. And when the kids eventually lose motivation, are you going to remember why you signed them up and actually be able to push through them? Because that's the biggest one we get, right? Is, oh, my kid doesn't want to go anymore and they're losing motivation and they're having a really hard time. Okay, well, do you want them to continue? Absolutely. Well, but why? Mm-hmm. Because when you actually have that why statement of why you want them to continue, no amount of, struggle to get them there is going to be that difficult. You're going to be able to push through like a fight to get them there. You're going to remember that, I'm not just building something today, but something for the future here. And
Right. And if we look at parents that bring their kids to martial arts, what are the main reasons that they bring them here? They bring them because, I want my kids to have better confidence. I want them to have better focus. I want them to have better discipline. I want them to have more, I already said confidence, but they want these life skills that we're teaching. One thing to keep in mind is that these life skills can't be taught in a day, right? These are building these habits that take time to really ingrain into students and get them to embody those values as well. But then all of a sudden we experience this unmotivated time, right? And that's where we really have to dive back and be like, why did I sign them up? Mm-hmm. It is for confidence, focus, discipline, right? Being able to stand up for themselves, being able to focus and go after goals and things like that. And those are the reasons that you signed your kid up. But 6 weeks down the road, 3 months down the road, a year down the road, that fizzles out. And you have forgotten the why you put your kid into martial arts.
Right. So if I were a parent listening to this and I were going, well, why do I do this? Like, why do I push them? Why do I bring them? And maybe you're one of the fortunate ones who, I've never had to push my kids. They've been in it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years. I've never pushed them. Great. That's awesome.
Which I think we're very fortunate with Ryder. I think we're in for a whole nother story with our younger child that will be starting Taekwondo soon. And so it's good that we're talking about this just for us too, because I feel like this is going to come into play with our younger one. And with our older one too, who's just about to turn 9, Ryder, he will experience this at some point. Mm-hmm. 100% at some point he will say, I don't want to do Taekwondo anymore. Yeah. I said it at one point, you have said it in the past, right? Like, as a kid going through martial arts.
Dozens. People don't think that and people are shocked, but I have wanted to quit honestly more times than I probably wanted to go. I don't know if that even made sense, but everybody's shocked. Like, you wanted to quit? Yes. I've wanted to quit in my 30s. I've wanted to quit in my 20s. I wanted to quit as a teenager. I wanted to quit as a child. Of course I experienced it.
So what stops you from quitting?
To be a better father, husband, leader, so that I can make a bigger impact on the community I serve.
You passed the test. Okay, so what kind of why statements can we come up with for parents, right? Because we think about our why statement for Ryder and Rocky.
And absolutely. So if we were, kind of talking about this and we're going through some stuff. So if I were a parent, and I brought my kid in for confidence, and, they're having a struggle. They're not really wanting to go. They're having a hard time getting in. They had a rough day. Those are conversations for another episode. But, why did I do it? So if I were a parent listening to this and I were to start writing my own why statement on why I want my kid to continue and why I'm going to go through the fight, why I'm going to go through the struggle, why I'm going to continue pushing them to keep going is to build a confident, strong child so that they will grow up to be an example to others and pave their own way. If every time I brought my child in to, build more confident because, they're a little shy and they're, they kind of sit back, they don't really vocalize things, and I were to come in and bring them in for confidence, I would write something like that. So that way every time they were like, boy, they're having a hard time, or they don't feel like they're progressing, they don't feel like they're moving on.
They don't want to come to class.
I want to come to class. I'm going to go back to that why statement and remember why it is I enrolled them in martial arts.
Right. And if pushing them through to go to Taekwondo adheres to our why, great. Mm-hmm. If we are going to look at our why and decide that, nope, he doesn't have to go to Taekwondo or she doesn't have to go to Taekwondo, that's going against our why, right? That's our responsibility as parents to create this strong, confident child. And we've found the how, which is martial arts, right? So if we were to not let our child go, I feel like that's such a disservice to my child, right? If Ryder came to me, I don't want to go to Taekwondo, but I want him to be this strong, confident child, right? My why is there. I know that this is good for him. I know that what martial arts teaches us and the life skills that we learn from it is pointed directly at my why. So I'm going to remember that. I'm going to do my part in getting my child to continue martial arts.
Mm-hmm. So you're a parent, you want them to learn some life skills. Okay, so this could be, focus, this could be, discipline and structure and lots of stuff like that. So if I were to think about that, and we have a whole life skill program and everything that we run, but 2, raise a child with strong positive values, going again with those life skills, so that they can live a life filled with passion, purpose, and joy. Again, really easy. If that were my why statement, I would have that memorized every single time, heck, even every time I don't want to bring them as a parent. Because there's times you probably feel that as a parent, like, boy, oh boy, do I really want to drive out there today?
That's true, right? Like sometimes in our lives too, I'm like, man, we got to go here, and I had to go back to school, back to the day home, then back to the dojang, and then back home, and then back to grab the other one from the dojang. It's crazy being a parent. I understand the crazy schedules that we all have to follow, but is it worth it to get my kid there? Absolutely, when my why is that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we were talking about this too, and we were kind of thinking about it, and we're like, we never really created necessarily a why statement. Again, we were pretty fortunate. Ryder's a pretty easy one to get to. He's pretty motivated. He gets down to class when he's here by himself. He's good that way. But we were kind of talking about it, and when we look at what we value and stuff like that, we wrote a why statement for our boys, right? So when Ryder eventually goes through a phase where he's like, I don't know if I want to go anymore, we're going to know that, what? Why do you do difficult things, Ryder? Why do we push you to do difficult things? 2, become a strong, independent young man so that he can have the confidence to live a life of happiness, joy, and meaning. So, when we want to push him, or when, we bring him to class, or when he doesn't want to go anymore, we're going to go back to those things, and remind ourselves, or even him, why we do these things. Now, Ryder eventually is going to have to figure out his own why. This is just what we've done, but this is the goal of parents too, is we're trying to pave that way for them. And if we can understand that why, we're going to be able to coach him through that and teach him how to create his why. Because his why is going to be probably very different. And again, as he goes through teenage years and adult years and everything.
That reminds me about a moment that I had with Ryder recently. So over the break, we spent some time, we were in the hot tub, and you and Ryder, you guys were in the hot tub, running out into the snow, back into the hot tub, and over again. And I was not doing this, but you guys are doing this. And I had this moment to chat with Ryder afterwards, and he said, and I asked him, I'm like, why do you want to do that, Ryder? And he's like, Mom, to challenge myself so that I can be strong. Well, that line that he said was the formation of part of his why. He said, I asked him, why do you want to do this? He said, to challenge myself so that I can be strong. And I loved that. Like, because of the way that we talk and the things that we talk about, he is learning to make those why statements for himself already. And he doesn't even know it, right? So that's exciting because when he said that to me, that's his why. Like, that's from an 8-year-old, that's part of his why. And so now I can use that to help him connect to martial arts maybe in the future, or other challenging things that he's going to go through. It was really just a really proud moment for me.
So I recently had a student, he also came to me, he goes, hey, listen, how do you push through? And this exactly was the whole conversation. Now, it was, I said, you need to have a why. And again, coming from his point of view, this is a student, a young man, I think in his 20s, mid-20s, maybe early 30s. And he came to me and he goes, how do you push through sometimes? Like, how do you do, when it's 10 push-ups, how do you end up doing 15, 20? Like, how do you, when we're supposed to hold V-sits or wall sits, how do you keep going? Why? Like, as I said, I have a why behind me. So whenever I don't want to push through, I have a why behind me. So I told him, you need a why statement. And I very quickly, before class, gave him the whole understanding of that why statement. He knows what he was going to do, which was Taekwondo. He knew how he was going to get started in Taekwondo. But then he didn't really know why, or the why wasn't strong enough. And that's why when he's in class, he's like, man, how do I push through?
That's a perfect example, because I know what student you're talking about. And initially, when he came to our school, he told me his why. He told me that he wanted to learn something new and he wanted to become strong and healthier, fitter, and just emotionally and mentally stronger. He said that to me. Yep. And here's a perfect example of, a few months down the line, half a year down the line, he has let his why become fuzzy. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's why you need to create this why statement. So I just gave him an example, and this could fit for you as a martial artist, teenager, an adult. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you were, or if I were to start in martial arts and I'm brand new, and I'm in my 30s and I'm going to start in, why am I going to do it? To become physically and mentally strong so that I have the confidence to pursue my goals and strive for greatness. So when I am struggling in class, when I don't want to hold that V-sit, when I don't want to hold that plank, when I don't want to hold that wall sit, when I don't want to do those push-ups, I'm going to go back to that. And again, he knew why, but he didn't have that why statement that was really, really quick. And so you need to have that why statement, and you need to have it so that way every time you're like, I don't want to go through, you need to go back to that and you need to say it to yourself. And that's why it just needs to be really quick around the values that you already have, not the values that I have, because you will quickly forget your why statement if you write it off of somebody else's values. So you might have similar ones to us, to me, to her, and that's fine. But you need to really attach them to the ones that hold true to you. So that way you won't forget that why statement, you won't forget why you're doing it, and you will be able to go back to it really easily, really quickly, and actually be able to attach yourself, realign yourself, and push yourself through again. So reiterate this whole thing, go back to it. What did we learn?
Yeah, our why statement is really going to keep us connected and consistent with the activities that we choose, that we are going to perceive as increasing our why, right? So if we are looking for something for ourselves to become physically and mentally stronger, or maybe we're looking for our kids to learn life skills such as confidence and focus, discipline, all those things, right? We need to first establish why. Start with why, right? We know the how, the what. Hows and whats can really change ultimately, but our why has to be so strong and so connected, right? And the way that we're going to do this is to look at our values, right? Create our why statement, try it out, stay consistent and committed to it, and tweak it so that you have a very clear clear why statement that's easy to refer to, so that in these times of toughness that you can reach to that, and that will help you persevere through.
Absolutely. So there you have it. Your why statement. To blank, so that blank. Get writing, sit down for 5-10 minutes, write out some values, and create your why statement.
And let us know, like if you create a why statement, let us know, because we would love to hear from you in the comments. Let us know what that why statement is, and if this was helpful for you to creating a really simple why statement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Off the Mat. We greatly appreciate your support. Please, give us a review, give us a like, give us a share, whatever it is, because really, ultimately, we just want to be able to help out as many people as possible with this. So if you have a moment, please review us, and we cannot wait to see you guys on the next one. Thank you very much.
Bye guys, have a great day.